All right. So can you guys still see it in full screen? Okay. So hey everyone, welcome to our Native American Heritage Month celebration. We're closing the month off strong here today. We are the Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Hispanics and Native Americans in Science, or SACNAS. SACNAS is a national society dedicated to promoting and fostering diversity in STEM fields, and we are a chapter at the University of Houston, or UH. We formed our chapter in the spring of 2019, so we're still a fairly young chapter, but we have grown so much over the past couple of years, which is crazy because a couple of those years have been pandemic years, so it's been really cool to see that how we've been able to come together even like despite the pandemic. Our chapter hosts a lot of social professional development and then diversity and inclusion awareness events. Right there you can see our group bowling at the UH Student Center. We try to have a lot of these events to kind of form a community that people can feel like they belong, sense of belonging here. Those are our social media pages if you would like to follow us, and if you would like to join our Discord server or get seeds for the Space Chile Challenge, which we're going to talk about today, we're going to send a form in the chat so that you can fill it out. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to allow Jacob to start sharing his screen.
Thank you so much, Larissa. My goodness. You know, I visit a lot of groups, and that's kind of what I do during my free time, especially we'll talk about the Space Chili Grow Pepper Plant Challenge, which is my like outreach arm, I guess. But when you put that slide up that said Chicanos, Hispanics, Native Americans, like my heart started pounding, because I don't know that I've visited a group of who I am, you know, that's everything that I am. And I don't know that I've visited a group that's specifically Chicanos and Native Americans, you know, so I just so excited to be here. I'm absolutely honored. My name is Jacob Torres, and I'm a scientist at NASA Kennedy Space Center. I'm a contracted scientist for the plant science team that's growing crops on the International Space Station. We have two systems. One is called Veggie, and the second one is called the Advanced Plant Habitat. They're about the size of a refrigerator or a microwave, 40 centimeters cubed. And we're able to grow, you know, a few plants at a time to learn what it takes to grow plants in microgravity, and then also explore the biology and science that goes on when you grow a plant when gravity isn't there. And then also in the conditions of the space station, which is high CO2. And ultimately our mission is to grow fresh food for our astronauts when they go on missions to the moon, and then later to Mars. We have very good stored meals or freeze-dried meals that the astronauts eat, but there's vitamins and nutrients within those meals that degrade over time. So if you're going to Mars, it depends on when you launch and where the position of the planet is, but a trip to Mars can take 6 months to 2 years, depending on where the rotation is. And during that time, the nutrients in those meals degrade. And, you know, by the time the crew gets to the Martian surface, those nutrients, those vitamins that they need will be missing. So NASA had a problem. How do we make all that up? You know, and there's all the thoughts that go in, you know, into, you know, maybe we send livestock or other things, but ultimately it became kind of an easy decision to grow plants. You know, well, we can grow fresh crops, fresh food. That's how we've come up, you know, as a species. And when we explore beyond, you know, the earth, growing and taking plants with us was a pretty natural thing. And so I get to work on that team. Of course, the International Space Station is a lab, and it's engineering, hardware, laboratory, but we're growing nature and plants. and how do you make technology and electricity grow something natural? And that's kind of what I do. That's my challenge. That's my specialty. I guess I should start that I barely graduated high school. I wasn't a good student at all. My mom and I were joking the other day that I never did 8th grade. And you know, it was just weird how that all worked out. I didn't go to college right away. I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. I got a job on this trip. I worked for the Hard Rock Cafe, and it was a lot of fun, but I worked so hard till my body couldn't take it anymore. You know, it worked so hard, and I thought in my mind, like, well, I can't do this forever. And eventually I derived that I wanted to do more things. I watched a lot of Discovery Channel and Science Channel, and they have biker build-offs and all these build-offs, you know, and can you build things in 24 hours? And I just loved that. So I was like, I want to be an engineer. So I went to the community college where I'm from, Northern New Mexico College. I got a 2-year degree in automotive technology and renewable energies. That was cool and was fun. When I finished, I got a letter from New Mexico State University, and they said, hey, you did great. If you come here, we'll pay for your degree. So I went to New Mexico State University, and they paid for my tuition to get my engineering degree. And then once I graduated from New Mexico State University, I worked in the industry, and I developed an engine, a diesel engine, 2017 Cummins diesel engine in Indiana. And that was cool, but engines are engines, and whether it's really small or really big, they're all the same. And I'll be honest, I got bored, and I wanted to do more. And I was in Indiana, and there's these great schools in Indiana, and one of them is Purdue University. And I said, man, I'm going to take a shot. I mean, couldn't imagine from Espanola, New Mexico to go to Purdue University. That's almost a joke, but I'm going to apply anyway. So I took the GRE and I applied for Purdue. And not only did I get accepted, but I got an assistantship to teach while I worked and while I went to school. And it was so amazing. And my research there was to develop a botanical air filter, which is essentially using plants like the ones behind me to filter the air inside of a house. And that was using a controlled environment. I made a system to turn lights on and off, to irrigation on and off, record temperature, humidity, and all of these other things. And so when I applied for my internship at NASA, I included that, and it turns out that NASA is doing the same thing. They're not filtering air, but they're growing crops. Then the controlled environment was the same, so I had this natural fit. I applied for an internship. It went so well. The one semester turned into 2 semesters. And then the 3rd semester, they were like, hey, there's a job opening. Would you like to stay here? And I said, sure. And so ultimately, I took that job, and I'm still playing intern at Kennedy Space Center to this day. So what I decided to do, and what I'm going to try and do, is something that I've never done before. But, you know, once I make a slide, it becomes obsolete. Everything changes, especially around here. I would have made these slides last week, but this weekend we harvested the space peppers. And so those wouldn't have been in my slide, and that wouldn't be cool. So I'm gonna go straight to my live Space Chili Challenge page, and we'll start looking at some of the posts and things that are going on in there. And then along the way, you'll get to see what I'm doing and be and see, you know, things that everybody's doing related to space biology. And then my one mission, PH04, growing peppers in space, which we just fulfilled recently. And let's see if I can figure out how to share my screen. Okay. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Yeah, yes. Awesome. Cool. So I want to start with the cover photo. And the backdrop is, you know, Jacob, the intern, starts working at Kennedy Space Center full time. I'm an engineer that's growing plants, and it's all awesome. And I'm doing these great things. And we not decided, but we realized that, to supplement an astronaut's diet or even a person's diet, you would have to grow more things than just leafy greens, which up to this point, we have grown leafy greens in veggie and the advanced plant habitat, which are things like lettuce, Mizuna mustard, things that don't require pollination and grow, within 28 days. But you'd have to grow, more complicated things if you want to supplement the diet. And that means flowering, pollination, fruit, long-term grow outs and harvesting. And so when you pick a crop, your first plant to send up to space, and you want to pick something that's a good bet, that you really feel like it's gonna do good, almost like a weed in a way. And the team had already landed on peppers. Peppers were a good crop that pollinated in a way that can be shaken. And we had done some tests with different types that they can grow well in the high CO2 environment that we have. And of course, I came in. If anybody's been to New Mexico, we are crazy about New Mexico chili, hatch chili, or New Mexico green chili. The state question is red or green. So of course, when they're talking about peppers and they mention hatch, and I go, hatch New Mexico, and they're like, yeah, we want to grow hatch peppers. And I'm like, well, I'm from there. I went to school there. And in the end, it turned out that we did crop selection, and the crop that went up was a plant called the Espanola improved. And my hometown is Espanola, New Mexico. And so we sent peppers from my hometown up to the International Space Station, and they were the first fruit to ever grow. And in my mind, that's great and it's exciting, but nobody saw it. Or all the work that I was doing every day, nobody got to see it, only me. And I wanted to find a way for everybody to see this amazing work that's happening here. I would just love to share it. I wanted to do an activity, but it was hard to get funding. And it's hard to explain to people the idea that you have in your mind, but you're not quite sure what it is. And in the end, I couldn't. I had to do it myself. I wrote a description, took some pictures, and what came out was the Space Chili Grow a Pepper Plant Challenge, where I challenge everybody to grow a pepper plant with me as we grow them in space and as we grow them in the lab, to help me learn what it takes to grow a plant like that in technology. What came out of it was this. And one thing is that it turned into a community. Not everybody loves to grow a pepper plant. Other people love to build the hardware that grows the pepper plant. Some people are into lighting. Other people are artists. And, so there was a group of artists from actually my hometown, students, and they wanted to draw a mission badge for PH04. So they drew the mission badge. It happened right when COVID did hit. So, what was supposed to take a few months went 18 months, I think. And in the end, the girls drew this. And then astronaut Megan MacArthur printed it out, and that's the Earth in the background there. And then that is a pepper to the left of it. And we didn't ask her to do it. I did send a tweet to her and said, hey, check out our mission badge. And she replied and said, it's a mighty fine mission badge. And then the next day we woke up to our inbox, because we get these pictures down from space every day. And this was in there. And it was super special. So this is how the Space Chili Challenge, one way, has been involved with space research. And you don't have to be a scientist or an engineer. You can be an artist. There's room for everybody. And there's something that I haven't done yet. But I've chose to start it on a Facebook page because I ended up funding everything myself, and the Facebook group page is free. That's kind of hard because as it grew, in classrooms and students aren't allowed to join in on social media and things like that. So this page has been the adult version of the Space Chili Grow a Pepper Plant Challenge, I guess, and also for the educators. And here is where some of my colleagues from NASA and other space biologists all get on together, and we grow pepper plants, and I send things out For example, we harvested our peppers the day after Thanksgiving. I haven't been maintaining the inbox as much as I usually do, but the second we harvested, I picked it back up, and I'm letting everybody know that here are the envelopes that went out yesterday, and we welcomed in new chili challengers, and then everybody leaves comments. David Archuleta lets me know that he's growing Espanola improved in New Mexico too, and that his peppers are looking really cool and exciting. One thing that made peppers a great candidate for us was, well, we're using technology to grow our plants. And you know what? I'm going to admit it, but our irrigation fails a lot. And if the irrigation fails all the way in space, it's not like you can go out to Home Depot and buy a new pump or something like that. It's pretty much, you know, it's a process. Well, these peppers are used to being droughted. The way the irrigation system works in New Mexico is the acequia system, which is a ditch, and farmers share that water. And in the way that the water sharing goes, it kind of works out that you maybe get to water your plants one time a week. And so these plants have adapted to being watered once a week. And this is Christina Johnson, who's a NASA postdoc that I work with. She was sharing my pictures, my plants from inside Greenworks that I forgot to, this is her plant. And I forgot to water them, but it's okay. She added water and there they are. And that's kind of what you want out of a space plant, is you want something that it's really hard to kill, I guess. Yeah. This is us. I put out a post to let everybody know that we were going to be here today. I was so excited about that. One thing I wanted to talk about, is actually this gives me a good moment to talk about this part, and it this is not bad. I do talk about the peppers, and they are the first fruit that have been grown in space, the first fruit that's been grown and then eaten. The Russians had grown some peas in the past. We don't know how far that got, and is a pea a fruit? We're not sure. Pepper plants have also been grown since the 1970s and into the 80s by Dr. Ray Willer. Most of you may know him more as maybe Mark Watney from the movie The Martian. The potato experiment was a real experiment done by Dr. Ray Willer, and I call him like the grandfather of space biology. We still get to work with him. He still works with us. Plant growth has been part of NASA and space flight since the very beginning. Our rocketry in going to space happened after World War II, and they learned pretty quick that seeds don't weigh very much, so you can add them into the payload, launch them up, let them get exposed to radiation, bring them back down and grow them, and then look for different differences in growth in science. So plant growth is something that's been going on for a very long time in space. And but what's unique is the technology and then the long duration. Before, you were limited in the amount of time that you could grow a plant. You could send seeds up and bring them back down. You could send plants up in what they called the space shuttle, the plant growth unit. And they're just these little tubes, and maybe you can have a day or two worth of water. You can do short-term grow outs, but we couldn't do anything long-term until Veggie came out. And then Veggie, and actually let's just go check out Veggie. Just real quick. Oops. Go away. So Veggie is just this simple system. There's really nothing complicated. It's pretty much a bag with a light on top, and then the trick and the challenge is keeping the growth media in one spot and the water in one spot. And how do you do that? Well, they use these Veggie Pillows, And essentially it's a box with a hole in it where the wick goes through, and that wick allows water and the plant to grow through. But here we grow like 6 veggie pillows at a time. And there's 2 of these on the International Space Station. And this was the time where we were able to do long-term grow outs. We were able to put a growth media inside of the pillow and then fertilizer. And the astronaut can come and add water to it, you know, whenever water is needed. And that was great. So this turned into growing lettuces and leafy greens and other things. But, you know, still, you still need to, you know, eventually get to like growing a diverse amount of crops. And in the end, you have to, you know, grow more and use technology more. So that turned into the advanced plant habitat. And maybe I didn't explain that well, but I'm going to go there anyway. The advanced plant habitat is fully automated. So Veggie that I showed you before is a light with a bag that goes over it. And then there's Veggie Pillows inside, and the astronaut comes in and adds water from time to time. But the advanced plant habitat is a sealed, controlled environment and has a lighting system. We control everything from Earth, an automated irrigation, lighting system, temperature, humidity control, all types of stuff. I guess it matches its name, advanced plant habitat. And let's see if we can go to pH 04 and see what that shows us. That's actually me right there. That's my hand placing the seeds before they go to space. Are these some of the space peppers there? I think. Yep, those are some of the space peppers growing. But pH 04 is plant habitat. 04 means it's the 4th experiment that we've done in the plant habitat. And up to now, we had done leafy greens and other things. But peppers, this is the first time that we've grown peppers, and it ended up being the longest grow out that we've ever done, the first fruit that we've ever done, all types of exciting things that hadn't been done before. And here I am, like, talking to you guys about it. But in the end, I guess my point on that part is that plants have been grown for such a long time with NASA. And now is my chapter, our chapter with growing plants in space. And my first part was growing these peppers in space, and it was totally cool. But what did we learn? I learned that there's more questions that need to be answered. There's like we saw so many things, and they would look at me and say, "What's that? What's going on?" Honestly, I couldn't say. And it's kind of hard to be the PI, the person who's supposed to know, but I don't know what's going on. And so here is Steve Arthur. Steve Arthur is one of our participants. He's from Ellis Public Library. He's growing pepper plants using one of my examples. We're trying to grow in as small amount of media as we can. If you grow in space, you have to launch whatever you're growing in up there. So if you can use a small amount of growth media instead of a lot, then that's great. That's space efficient. So he's using these little cups with growth media in them, and he's growing peppers. And his question is, why are the ones outside of the light growing bigger than the ones in the middle? You know, and it's like, wow, crazy. I don't even know what to tell him. I think that I told him I'm going to show this to the group of students tonight, and we'll see what they have to say. So I totally told him that I was going to show this to you all, and you all can take a look, and maybe you can tell me something that I don't see. But the ones away from the light are growing. I think those are some flowers. And the ones in the middle are smaller. I assume they're all the same size. But this is kind of like one of the debates or things that we have on here. And ultimately what I'm asking for is, I'll give you a list of things to collect as you're growing your pepper plant. I send you some of these seeds, genuine seeds given to me straight from the field. If I have them, I'll send out a mission badge to you, and then instructions. Here's a sheet of things that I'd like you to do as you grew. How long does it take your plant to germinate? What day did you see flowers? how long or how many fruit did you have? But I give like a good list of things that I'd like you to record as you grow. You don't have to do it. Almost nobody does. But if you did it, you would be like so in special favor with me. Like I will owe you, and it would like mean so much. And so I've been doing this activity. We have put out more than 30,000 individual packets and sent them around the globe. We're even growing in Antarctica right now, New Zealand, everywhere. And out of those 30,000, I maybe have 30 or 40 submissions. And so if anybody could grow pepper plants and submit their data, it gets you on the map. And then NASA is watching. So, so, you know, your data would be there kind of thing. And excuse me. I apologize. So it kind of has turned into a Jacob fan page just a little bit, you know, I don't know, but I like to let people know that there are more things going on than just the space peppers. And one thing was I'm 3D printing also in the background, actually right now as we speak, 3D printers going off. And one of my teammates, Lucy Poulet, is doing parabolic flights. And what's the parabolic flight? It's the only way to get prolonged microgravity on Earth. Like you can drop something off of a building or you can do microgravity simulation, but the Vomit Comet is one way to get true microgravity and do tests without going into space. And she's got 3 flights. And on those flights, she wants to grow microgreens. And so she needed like a system to grow microgreens in that environment, and then they're going to harvest them and get ready to grow them in space. It's a big, huge job, and I wanted to let everybody kind of see. So here's like in the lab, and I 3D printed all these different parts and things, you know, here are the lids, these are the boxes and reservoirs, and in the end, those all have seeds in there. And this box or this lid has a blade that goes through it, and it swipes down like a guillotine, because she's from France. She's from France, and I remembered that the guillotine was from France. And I said, yeah, let's make a guillotine microgreens harvester. And so that's what that is a microgreen harvester. Everything had to be 3D printed. I had 12 days to get these 27 different hardwares done. And man, my printers broke, and all these adversity, everything that you can imagine happens along the way. But in the end, you know, I was 4 boxes short, but she let me know that she overshot the number because she probably knew that I wasn't going to make them all, maybe. But so luckily with the 24 that I delivered, she had what she needed. And I was hoping that this had more pictures. I think it's the next one down. This was the update where I was letting everybody know that I made it, kind of. Here's some more pepper plants with the flowers. Shake to pollinate, tap to pollinate. In when we got to do it in orbit, we had to do it on the fly. We had to make the procedure on the fly. How do you have the astronauts hand pollinate pepper plants in space? And I go tap to pollinate, but we felt that the pollen was like floating away, not falling down, like because gravity was pulling it. So we ultimately decided to have the astronaut push their finger in the flower and then rotate it and then go to the next flower. And ultimately that worked. And we also used the fans to shake the flowers too. And we believe that worked as well. Here's the crew. This was our first harvest. And they had so much fun. They literally had Space Chili Taco Friday on the International Space Station. And here's Megan MacArthur. And she sent me an email to let me know that her husband, his uncle was from Las Cruces, where I went to school. So her and I trade emails. And then when I sent her that tweet with the mission badge, she printed it out. Poor thing, she was assigned to work on the toilet that day. I'm sure everybody heard and read about the toilet that was broken and whatever. And meanwhile, Mark was harvesting, and we could see it on the timeline because they're all scheduled out. And, you know, Megan was on toilet duty, and we're just like, oh, poor thing. Well, then later on that night, she's the one who made the tacos. And so even though she had to do the hard work, she's the one who ended up scored the touchdown in the end, answered the state question from Mexico, red or green. She's like, we got to answer red or green. Christina Johnson, she wanted bonsai pepper plants. Steve is happy to show that his peppers are going to turn red, and he's been working with Mars Stimulant. Can you grow pepper plants in the Martian soil? Like the movie The Martian? Matt Damon grows in the soil there. He puts some of his poop in it, and then he adds kind of water. The truth is, we don't believe that will really work. The Curiosity took samples of Martian soil, at least in that location, and found that there's a large amount of perchlorites, which is a salt, which is just, there are these salts that get into the pepper or whatever plant you're growing. They may grow, but they definitely won't be good to eat and stuff. So what we saw on The Martian was totally cool. It was exciting to see the potato experiment and all that, but it to actually grow in Martian soil like the movie, there would have to be some treatments done to the soil to get rid of the perchlorite content. And there's a whole team or even teams that are working on that problem for sure. And I get to see them and run into them from time to time. Cool. This was the first 3D printed one, and that we're talking adversity, because I had like 36 hours left and I had 80 hours worth of prints still due, and of course 3 o'clock in the morning this one decides that it's going to go on thermal runaway. But like, it's all about, you can't freak out. You got this high pressure. This isn't my only project going on at that time. You just have to like see it through. And I think that's the way it is with anything in life that everybody does. Honestly, what I'm doing isn't anything more or less special than what I've seen, other people do. I just applied and happened to get there. They just happen to be growing peppers and I happen to be from a pepper place. All those things work together. And that's just saying that you just have to apply, because you never know, is the first thing. But second, things don't always go well. And when they don't, you can't freak out. You just got to put your head down and keep working. And that's what happened in this case. This is printer number 2. This is Saturday, Thanksgiving weekend, and printer number 2 is down. At least it finished this print that was right here. But here's all my tools out Saturday afternoon. I just want to be hanging out, eating turkey like everybody else, and second printer's down. At this point, I'm messaging NASA to let them know I might be delayed and all that stuff. It gets scary, those deadlines. That's what it's all about. This is one of the boxes. It's 3 parts: the reservoir, the middle section, and the cut section. And I kind of showed it to you guys earlier, but these are a few of them, and they're all 100% 3D printed. And literally, this is just one experiment of maybe 18 different things that I have going on, where it requires special 3D printing for a one-off experiment from a professor from who knows where, and they're growing a plant that I've never heard of before. And I just get to like listen to what they need and then help them out, and the cool thing, is, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's an art or maybe it's not, but if they explain it a certain way, I can go home that night, create a drawing in 2 or 3 minutes, because really all it is a square extruded with a few circles in it, extruded, and so to me, it's like super simple, and we can have a discussion. I can come home, make a drawing, 3D print it, and then go in the next morning all excited with the prototype in hand. And then you're going to listen to the old NASA guys talk about, man, I remember when we'd have to go through engineering and have fabrication set up, and it would be months before we would see that part. And here it would come in overnight. And so like, that's really cool. It's super fun for me to like see the NASA people light up like that from something that's kind of like easy. This is really, honestly, 3D printers out there, Alejandro probably knows, this isn't really too complicated 3D printing. These are just like simple shapes, squares, things like that. But they're super important to the team that I work with. And so I'm lucky and blessed to be the one who's getting to do this, but I'm not the only one who could, And so these are just some of those parts. In the end here, I delivered them, and I still don't feel like I fulfilled that assignment, but these are other things that are going on, and I started to share them in the Chili Challenge page so people can see that there's more things going on. This was the day that we harvested the first peppers in space, and the new astronaut, her name is Kayla. I'm sorry, I don't remember their last names, but Astro Kayla, she came up with Hastronaut. She called herself a hatch astronaut. And we were like, how did we not think of that? And so it was so exciting. But I got to be, of course, because I was part of this experiment. Lachelle Spencer is sitting right there, and I were the ones who were growing peppers in the lab since 2018. We derived and learned what nutrients to use, what light level, what light recipe, what temperature, humidity, all of these things. Her and I worked out in the lab over 2 or 3 years worth of growing peppers again and again and again. PHO4 felt like it was never, ever going to happen. And then here it is, it's over all of a sudden. The longest grow I'd ever done, right? And it happened for like 6 months we were doing that. And it seems like it would happen so quick. But the science carrier, I showed you guys the pillows in Veggie, in the advanced plant habitat, it's a science carrier, and it's broken up into quadrants. So you can grow an individual plant in each one. And then there's automatic irrigation. So this is the harvest from one. By the way, our mission, our aim was to get 1 fresh pepper. That was our success criteria. We got much more than just 1 pepper. So we're so excited. And so usually 1 astronaut works on a flight op, but today that day the crew was coming in and out. At one point there were 3 astronauts floating around the advanced plant habitat. That, like, they asked us if they could peek into do you mind if we open the door to like peek in from time to time? And I have it on video where we responded and we let her know, no, actually you're totally welcome to look at them, but today's the last day. And you see her hair go, because she was like sad, and it was just like the coolest thing in the world, But this is the flight ops room, and this is Dave Reed, who's the voice of space biology. He speaks to the astronauts directly, and then also works with Johnson Space Center, which is mission control, to send up commands, harvest the plants, fulfill the procedures that Lachelle back there and I did. And then that's Nicole Dorfer, who is the advanced plant habitat and veggie manager. Everything comes to her. She's the one who let me do the chili challenge, because they could have just said no. But they let me run with it. But I get to be in this room, and then not only be in this room, but like be the guy from New Mexico while they're growing New Mexico peppers. Like, man, what? It's like crazy. This means a lot to my neighbors, but the mayor from where I'm from gave me his coin. So I took this picture for everybody at home. We got green and red peppers. Some of them the crew kept, some of them are coming back to us. And then so here's where the astronauts like, those are mine. And then these ones went in a bag, and it was funny, but the video went so fast. And then that one plant didn't do too good. Later on, they found a pepper in the exhaust fan somewhere. We don't even know, but he came into the video as all, hey, we have this. They found it in an exhaust or something somewhere. So he was like, can we eat it? And so they had to get special permission just to eat that pepper. And it was like a whole crazy deal and stuff. And here he is harvesting. That's Astro Mark. He did most of the work. There were 2 different crews. One crew was there, and then they left, and then there's the new crew, but Mark has been there the whole time. So he's like a, for sure, super space farmer. And you probably hear me talking, but what he's doing is he has a computer on his leg there, and he has the procedures that we wrote for him. He has everything that we wrote for him. He follows it through step by step, and then he's pulling the peppers out. Eventually he cuts the plants, bags them up, and then we'll get those samples back here at Earth to do nutrient analysis and all types of other fun stuff. And please tell me if I need to stop.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we're getting close to the end here, so I do want to give people an opportunity to ask questions, but I do have a question first myself. Well, so my big thing is like, okay, we don't see a lot of, Hispanics, we don't see a lot of, natives in science. And oftentimes we'll walk into a room or walk into a conference or whatever, with the exception of the SACNAS conference, of course. But we'll find like, okay, we're the only ones here. We're the only Hispanics here. We're the only natives here. So I guess what is your advice, or how do you kind of bring your culture and bring like your indigenous or your like Hispanic identity with you to your work?
Yeah, that is like going to the heart of it question. That's big kid stuff. Yeah, when I went to Purdue University, I'm the only Native American Hispanic guy there, you know, at least in my college. Most of the places, come-ins that I've been to, and I know that. So there's just a weird culture about some of those places where, like, if I acted up or did something bad, I would probably label my people from that point forward. So I know that I am under the gun, especially there. We gave a scholarship to that Native American kid, and you saw what he did, you know, and so like there's always that pressure in the back of your mind, and man, how do you not freak out? And that stuff is priority on the top of my worry list. Like, oh my gosh. And you know, I probably overcompensate. Instead of shying and hiding away, which is what I want to do, I really do, I go the opposite way and say, my name's Jake Torres, I'm from Espanola, New Mexico. And this is what I do, this is what I'm here, and this is what I do, and I bring that energy. Things go bad, I lose and fail every day. I say stupid things, whatever, but you just got to get up the next day and keep going with your head up, representing who you are and where you're from, and being true to who you are and your traditions. That is another thing, is making compromises for things that aren't right to me. Doesn't seem right, you know, and you have to make compromises, and I'm not saying that you don't have to make those compromises. Stick true to who you are, where you're from. If things go bad, it's okay. Get up and do it again. That's what really people will notice, is if you get up and do it again, stay consistent, and just represent where you're from. That's it. Represent where you're from. But it is hard. That is one of my biggest challenges.
Yeah, I think I definitely do the same thing, where instead of like, oh, I'm gonna hide it, I'm like, oh, I'm in your face. And now I'm gonna wear all my regalia and stuff like that, and I'm gonna be loud about it, I guess. So my second question is, I'm definitely interested in doing the Space Chile Challenge, and I was wondering if you have any tips for those of us who are not like green thumbs on how to grow these chiles, because I'm a little bit concerned about my ability to grow.
I got you. Oh, I totally got you. So I have examples in text, video. I'll email some to you when you get your seeds. But the biggest thing you can do, this is the group page. It's groups/Space Chili Challenge. Literally just Google Space Chili Challenge. It comes up. Once you get into the group, there should be a search bar, and it may be, that's Facebook search. So, but I remember thinking that I wanted to do this in front of everybody.
Oh, isn't it there underneath the joined?
There it is. The little box was in the way. Yep. So here's the search. Just find the search bar and then type in like what you're looking for. I'm just going to point you towards pot and soil. How do you grow a pepper plant in a pot and soil? And all these examples will come up. Each one is pretty thorough, but the one that I really like is a video that I made in Greenworks. And it goes through pretty extensively what size of pot, what fertilizer, light, and all that stuff. It's me with the bald head during COVID and all that stuff. But you can do the same thing here. But you'll essentially, when you reach out for seeds, I will send examples to you, and I'll give you an introduction that points you into the direction of all this stuff. But then you can also come onto this page and Google hydroponics or Google pot and soil, and also just stay tuned with it, and you'll see all those examples and things like that. But this video right here is definitely a good one. I wonder if I can copy it and just share it. Yep.
Okay, cool. So
This is just the basic pot and soil, how to get a pot and soil done. The Space Chili Challenge is to grow your pepper plant indoors or in a controlled environment. We've grown them outdoors, but how do you grow them inside? And essentially you can just grow like a group of them, like 4 in a pot and soil, under a light or in a sunny window, and then record some data along the way. And then yeah, definitely I help out with information in the email that I'll send out to you.
okay, cool beans. So I have changed the security options to where you can unmute yourself. So if you would like to ask Jacob a question, then you're more than welcome to take the stage. Lance?
Oops, I spelled that wrong. What does that bring up?
Hi, Dr.
Lance, how are
Torres.
you?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're cool.
I have a loads of questions.
All right.
What is the nutritional value of the peppers that you're sending to space, that you're growing in space?
Sure, I won't be able to answer that with any certainty until we get our samples back. But I can tell you that we have at least 8 peppers coming back. No, 12 peppers coming back to us, red and green. And we'll do full nutritional analysis as well as capsaicin and microbiology analysis on those peppers when they come back. So stay tuned. Definitely join the group page here and I'll report it when all that stuff comes out.
Oh, there's no preliminary data either.
Sure. I mean, it's pretty general, but it goes to, for us, we highlight 2 things specifically, and that's, well, 3 things, but the high vitamin C content, there's more vitamin C, up to 6 times the amount of vitamin C in a pepper as in an orange. That means a lot to us. Astronauts report feeling like they have a cold. Without gravity pulling blood through the body, it kind of pulls in the head. So that gives the feeling of having like a head cold. Also, that creates pressure, and that pressure squeezes on the back of the cornea, and they also report having a hard time seeing sometimes. So creatine is very important, which peppers have. Vitamin C is super important, which peppers also have. And then the capsaicin, the spiciness, which is great to like, loosen things up, but it's not like a Carolina Reaper where you're gonna die and like whatever. These peppers are classified as a sweet pepper, but they still have some spice to it. And as far as I know about the nutrients, that's about as far as I go.
Okay. One more question. Has the people you work with attempted to grow more protein-rich plants in space, such as lentils, nuts, anything like that?
Legumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, legumes in space. If I could reach over and get the mission badge for you, but Exolab, write down Exolab. It's EXOLAB. They are growing legumes in space of all types. And they have different reasons why they're growing those, but you would definitely love that group. They're my very good friends. Yes, it's going to take a diverse crop list for us to be able to supplement the diet, and that's going to include pretty much everything. I mean, up to flour, processing flour and rice and things like that. But you would definitely be interested in Exolab. We are growing green beans and peas in crop selection in our lab currently. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that publicly, but that means that we're gearing up. To grow green beans and peas.
So basically, all aspects of human nutrition is currently trying to be covered from the research that you guys are doing.
If for us to have any significance in supplementing a human being's diet, we have to have a well-rounded crop readiness list. And we know that what we've grown so far is very tiny and that we have a lot of work to do.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you. This is the PHO4 science team. This is the day that we sent them out to space. Of course, here I am with my pepper mask sent to me from home. And then that's El Jefe and Oscar. Matt Romine is the NASA PI. And then Lachelle Spencer, who is African-American, and Jacob Torres, who is Native American, are the PIs. So we are a very diverse team PHO4 team. We're very proud of it.
Hey, so I have a question.
Go for it, brother.
Yeah. In terms of like the 3D printed parts, are there like specific standards that you need to meet for these types of parts? 'Cause I remember reading somewhere like unrelated that NASA had like a specific guidelines when it came to soldering cables for electronics. I was wondering if there was like some kind of similarity when it came to like just prototyping the parts, or like you need to make them at a certain thickness. They had to be like at a certain material. 'Cause I know with plants, you have to make the planters or the container that contain the plants out of like PETG or something that's more resistant to something like that's weather resistant.
That's so wonderful. I love that. I love that you know the soldering rule. Dang. I hate that rule. I can't solder. I do soldering here at home because I can't get the training done to do it at work. It's such a big deal. You know, I'm very fortunate that I am at the forefront of 3D printing, at least in my team, in my lab. So for my team specifically in my lab, just speaking for us, I am very lucky to be the one who has written those standards. And the prints come out the way that I make them. And I guess I have a standard that I have been trained to maintain, and or things that I know that it needs to do. It needs to function in a certain way. So I'll print it to be that way. You know, like it's really hard at first for us to print things that didn't leak water all over the place. We were printing porous things that were dropping water. There is not specific research on different types of filament related to plant growth and how they affect different plants. And actually, I'm so excited to tell you guys are the first group that I was just recently awarded money, $100,000 to write the standards that you just asked me for. So to use the different, to get the different materials, all of them that I can, 3D printed materials, and then put them under scrutiny to see how they behave under plant growth. And PTEG is one, right? Did I say that right? My go-to has been PLA. And the reason for you would probably laugh about. And it pretty much, it's the Wild West when it comes to 3D printing in our lab. Every other engineer has their favorite material or their way of going about it. Some of them use Creo, I use SolidWorks. You know, there's all these things going on, so it's not organized. It's so new to us, at least. I know maybe not to the rest of the world, but to my lab, it's so new that I'm literally writing those standards. And that standard really is, it has to hold water and not leak the water all over the place, and it has to grow plants. And so whatever I have to do to make that happen, that's ultimately the standard I go with. But I go with PLA because I spent so much time around the 3D printer, and it doesn't smell as bad as ABS and the others.
Yeah.
I just don't get as nasty from that material. Plus, it hasn't leached or degraded or affected our plant growth or anything that we've noticed yet. But over this next year, I'll be doing a study on all those materials and then writing a publication, if I do a good job, that answers your question specifically. So thank you for asking it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell Joya Massa that you asked it too.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually really curious because I've been recently started working with heat treated PLA, which is PLA that you can just print and then pop in the oven for annealing so it can get stronger.
I've heard of it. I haven't done it, but I did hear of it. Yep, totally. Maybe, yep. Awesome. If you find a leak, drop me a link on Facebook, man, so I can check it out.
Gotcha.
Are you a student, Alejandro?
I'm a PhD student in the physics department.
Right on, man. Well, you should come spend a semester with us.
We'll see.
Okay, cool. It pays pretty good.
Yeah, that's actually cool because I actually grow Venus flytraps in specially printed pots, because carnivorous plants have very like specific standards that they need to grow, and one of them is that they need to like constantly be submerged, like they're planted in moss instead of soil. So they need to be like pretty much constantly submerged in distilled water. And the only way that I could like feasibly do that was to special print like a certain pot for carnivorous plants. And I found that PETG is actually really good for that. And whenever it's like holding like water for like a extended period of time, PETG is really good.
Awesome. Very cool. Holding water was a challenge for us. We didn't know how to do it at first. And then once I was the one that learned how to slow the printer down and adjust the temperature. And then we started to get just right. So it sounds like you guys are ahead of us, at least me. That's awesome. Keep them coming.
Hey, Jacob, so I'm going to chime in with a question as well. So I kind of want to preface this a bit. First off, I just want to say this was a really interesting talk. I loved it because I love
Glad you got
space.
more.
Yeah, I actually grew up in Florida and would visit like the Kennedy Space Center as a kid. And my goal is to eventually, hopefully get like a postdoc position at the Ares division here at LBJ or, Johnson Space Center. So I guess like my big question for you is like, I've really only known academia, right? That's kind of like the only, I guess, like culture that I've known. I guess like how does it feel like, is there a difference working for a governmental agency like NASA versus working, as like in academia as like a PI following or as a postdoc? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes all kinds of sense. 100%. Yes. So there is a need for all skills with NASA, and I'll just stress that extremely. But NASA itself, the scientists who are NASA researchers, whatever, they run the ship like an academic institution. That it does feel a lot like academia. When I came for an internship, I felt right at home because I came from Purdue University to this environment where everybody meets together, converses as a team, and we work. Well, it's a lot like school. It absolutely is. But I also have my away from academia experiences, and I think that those experiences is what have given me the edge as of late, at least related to like 3D printing and like the technical stuff that I do, like growing hydroponics and all that stuff. But I am I am a little bit rarer, I guess. It's more academia-ish, like you expect. And I think that you'll be just fine in the NASA environment if you are used to being in school. If you're doing a PhD, you are at a level where you would come to NASA and set the culture for yourself. And that's one thing that surprised me that I'm not used to, maybe because of where we're from or how we're raised. But I'm not used to setting the rules myself. I'm used to running under somebody else's rule and all those things. But when I came here, I got freedom and I'm allowed to be who I am. And they like me for who I am and all of these things. So they're just, I can honestly say that at least where I'm at and the NASA people that I worked have the most generous and sweetest people that I've ever met and worked with. I swear that they went to school to take in graciousness or something. They're just so gracious. They know how to give credit to everybody, and so welcoming and everything. So, once you're in NASA, you're in, and that's kind of the way it is. And then if you're doing really well, you get to write your own rules and stuff. So you just keep doing you and then find your niche and then apply. And that's really, really the secret, is to get your name in the hat, because you can't win unless your name is there. And you just never know, so have an application ready to go, have an alert for the jobs that you're looking for, or PhD or whatever it is you're looking for, have an alert out for that. And I'll tell you everybody right now, the way into NASA is as a student. That's the way to get in. Other people can apply again and again and whatever, and not even hear back or whatever. But the secret is to get in as a student, to use the internship, to show who you are, and then nail a job after that. And that's what I did. That was my path in. But just do you, and be strong to you. But my overall thing is that when you do interact with NASA or any governmental agency, but primarily NASA, list all of your experiences, even if it was a summer at Taco Bell, or for me, it was a spring semester harvesting peppers in the field. You know, you never know what the most smallest job that you did is going to spark a conversation or a relation to a certain project or whatever. So, you know, in the industry, there's the rule 2-page limit on your resume. Well, with the government, it's everything. Give them everything that you have, and check your spelling and make sure, you know, all that. You'd be surprised at how thoroughly they examine your application and all that stuff. So just check your spelling, your grammar, that you've done all that stuff right, and then share your heart. And that's really what I did when I got in. And then once you got in, it is like another college, and we pretty much work with other universities from all over the place. So we're like a university. Absolutely. You'll be right at home. Sorry for that long answer.
No, do not apologize, because that was super informative. I seriously appreciate like the insider look, because that is one thing that I really wanted to kind of talk to somebody about. So thank you so much.
Cool, no problem. Real quick, I'm just gonna Google NASA internships. And here it is right there. There's NASA internships and fellowships. There are teams. Okay, so when NASA was formed, the Congress had to decide a fair way to make sure everybody gets an equal amount of funding. So what they decided is that every state has a NASA Space Center somewhere. You guys have Johnson Space Center, we have Kennedy Space Center, New Mexico is White Sands, there's JPL in California, goes on and on and on. All those people have teams that are working on something. You know, there's the Parker Solar Probe that went into the moon. You know, there's the Curiosity rover, the moon, Artemis, plant growing, all of that. All of those people are looking for interns. Every semester they bring in interns. In here, this is where I applied, and you can apply for 15 opportunities at one time. So find your favorite one. For me, I was after JPL. I wanted to build robots, but I just happened to see one line that said plant growth for food production and microgravity. I said, oh, that sounds cool. So I clicked it. I didn't think, but they were the ones who called me back. So make sure and use all 15 of those opportunities. And you said your PhD, we bring in fellows. We have 2 fellows. Then we always have fellows working with us. And that is also a good way into NASA. But NASA, intern.nasa.gov, and I'll put this in the chat also.
Yeah, thank you so much, by the way. Yeah, I know, like, I'm definitely going to look more into the internship program. I hopefully, if my PI allows me to, you know, kind of do that, because I think losing me for a summer would probably be something I have to talk to her about. But I definitely want to talk to her about it.
But the benefits, the things that you can learn, you know, during that time, and if you got to spend even just a summer with us, and then brought that experience back to her, and just let, you know, I'm sorry if I didn't know if it's boy or girl, I apologize, but your PI, whoever your PI is, you just let them know that it could mean a lot to not only you to have that experience to go and do something like that, but also the things that you learn, you're going to bring them back and stuff. So make sure to sell it that way. I guess it's not letting me put the comment in there. I mean, the link in there, but it's intern.nasa.gov or .gov. And everybody should apply. I'm telling
Go
you.
ahead and put it in there for you, because I don't know if it wasn't letting you because you were a co-host or something.
Oh, cool.
He is a co-host.
I am. I just couldn't do
And
it
Zoom is being a jerk.
because I'm old. That's why. I wanted to show you this is the introduction to the chili challenge, and this has everything that I couldn't explain when you asked the question, but it just explains what the chili challenge is all about. Originally, we were growing the plants and they weren't growing hot. Like it was almost like pepper roulette. You know, you'd bite one, it was hot. You bite another one, it wasn't hot at all. And so I needed help figuring out what was going on, and that's how this challenge was born, or that was what I used to research with. And I kind of give the explanation for that. Hatch to ISS, which is the PHO4 experiment, but then I have a bullet point list of how to participate in the chili challenge. And pretty much this is the way to go. But I know that you're making a list, and so I'll have to figure out a way to give you the information. Everybody sends an email to me, and then I send the letters to them, or an email to them with all this information in it. I have to figure out a way for you to get all the information so you can share it if and when you get seed requests.
Yeah, we're collecting emails as well. So if anyone signs up, then we'll also give you a list of emails that you can send that information to as well.
Cool. And then I try to send a personal message to everybody who sends me a response. So yeah. Anyway.
I think Alejandro already asked for seeds.
I see it there, brother. I seen it there. You're coming.
All right.
See you,
Does
Hen.
anyone else have any questions? Lance?
Yeah, I have one more question. Do you have a specific page we can go to so that we can follow like the more nuanced aspects of your research for us biology types?
Yeah, what I'm able to share, I share in this group page here. A lot of it I'm not allowed to share. It's NASA. There's a lot of things that I can't talk about. But what I can share, I share with the group here on the Space Chili Grow Pepper Plant Challenge group page. This is the way to see what I'm doing and that stuff. I also have Instagram and Twitter. I have Twitter so I can interact with the astronauts, but I don't spend much time on it. To really keep up with what I'm doing is the Space Chili Grow Pepper Plant Challenge page, or you can keep up with the Advanced Plant Habitat, the APH. If you just send notifications, Google notifications, it'll let you know anytime that we do something new. And then also Veggie, which is VEGGIE. And anytime we do experiments or anything in those systems, if you send a notification for yourself, you'll get a notification. But we are doing a lot of stuff. These peppers are just one experiment of like all kinds of things. Like I said, there's crops that I don't even know what I'm doing or why I'm growing it, because I'm an engineer. I'm not a horticulturalist, but I grew up, like my family's been farming that land for almost 1,000 years. And so I grew up farming too. And I think that maybe I have a natural horticultural part in me, but I don't know like physiology, chemistry and all that stuff, but I do know how to make a plant grow. And then I'm an engineer and I know how to make lights turn on and water turn on and off and those types of things. And I think I have just enough plant knowledge to squeak me by. But yeah, there are like more sophisticated, Joya Massa, write her name down, GIOIA.
GIOIA, Massa.
MASSA. She wrote a letter to Ray Wheeler when she was 12 years old, and she said, I want to be a NASA scientist like you. And Ray Wheeler, this was back before computers, wrote her back and said, okay, if you want to be a NASA scientist, this is what you have to do. And she did all of those things. Now she's the next generation. Ray Wheeler is Mark Watney, and he's nearing his retirement age. And Joya is the new generation. She's like the next.
So she's the botanist, basically.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, one more thing. Can you write in chat the name of that lab you referred to that was growing the legumes?
Yeah. Let's do that. Exolab. They are they don't have the systems that I do. I don't know if I spelled legumes right. Sorry if I didn't, but
Close enough. I can figure it out from there.
didn't major in spelling, in English. But I would invite you to take a look at the way that they grow, because they're growing the way that we've traditionally had to grow. We had to grow in auger in small plates and stuff. And that was the only way we were able to get plants. It took a while to convince NASA to let biology go into the controlled environment of the International Space Station. That's a controlled environment. Plants bring microbiology, and in their minds, it's bad microbiology, pathogens and stuff like that. So a big part of our research is proving to them that there is positive microbiology, that it's not all bad. But there was a big worry with NASA in bringing biology into these environments. And so the original way that to grow plants had to be double containment. So contained once and then contained again. And that meant no irrigation or anything like that. They were using an auger to put a seed on and growing the plant in that auger media, but the plant only grows so well that way. But we're lucky we have the APH and the veggie where we can do like growth media and stuff like that. So I totally invite you to take a look at their version and then what we're doing and stuff.
That's very strange. Does that oversight committee have a botanist by any chance? Because mutualistic relationships, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but mutualistic relationships between plants and microbes are well documented. And it's very strange to me that a botanist would be against any kind of relationships between plants and microbes.
Oh no, it's not the botanist. It's the NASA lab, the International Flight Director, and NASA itself. The plant science team, we are completely wanting to grow plants in space and in microgravity. That's our whole thing. We believe and have shown that you can grow plants safely in the environment, but in the beginning, it wasn't clear, whether you sent up this plant and it starts to grow a fungi that gets into, the filtration system or who knows? And we just didn't know at that time and stuff, but so we are trying to encourage plant growth in those environments, and we're definitely not a botanist. Is not against growing plants in space. And I just say the Magnitude group who's doing ExoLab are educators, but they're also like showing their botany skills too to their students and stuff. They hooked up their growth environment to Raspberry Pi. So every student who's doing their experiment can hook up to the International Space Station's data, and then they can have the same settings going on at the same time. But anyway, the Magnitude man and ExoLab, definitely check them out.
Okay,
and
thank you very much.
That's where we are with legumes, and eventually we want to like grow them like big plants. We just haven't. We'll get there.
I know we have one more student with a question that just entered. Zuhal, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask about internships specifically. Do you have any recommendations of how to get internships? What do people normally look for when you're applying for internships?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one that I did was this one here, which is intern.nasa.gov. You can apply up to 15 opportunities at one time. And the truth is that you just put your heart into this application, which is what I did. I put my heart into it. Why is NASA important to me? NASA was important to me because when I was a kid, the Space Shuttle Challenger blew up, and our teachers were trying to explain to us what happened. And I didn't want that to happen again. So I wanted to work to avoid Space Shuttle Challenger's explosions, right? And that was kind of like my heart. It wasn't the great story, but it was, I put my heart into that application. And so I recommend that you do the same thing, that you share all of your experiences, even like, summer jobs that you've done. I spent this summer sewing and cutting fabric. Well, turns out that PHO3 is sewing and cutting fabric to make seed bags to grow plants in space. So you never know, like I think I mentioned the summer Taco Bell job, include all of those experiences in the application. they want to see it and know it, and then you never know which one is going to strike a special chord with a specific project or a scientist. And then spend some time refining it. Check your spelling. For me in particular, I have horrible spelling. Even though I don't speak Spanish fluently, I think I speak English in Spanish, which means like the verbs are reverse. And I think I write that way sometimes. And so check your writing, and you know, the small things, they notice the small things. And then of course they also notice the big things. So they can tell that you've done work on it and whatever, but just go to this website, intern.nasa.gov. And then I'm going to tell you the biggest secret of them all. The biggest secret of them all is, if you don't get it, apply again. And you'll be shocked that if you get a reply that they saw you last semester and they just didn't have funding for you. And this semester, we saw your application again, so we're going to take you, kind of thing. So, you know, just remember that it's NASA, and that if you don't get a call on the first try, then try again. And there are stories of people who've tried 15 times or more and finally have gotten one, you know, and then like me, that's all I needed. For me, I just needed a crack in the door, and then I took off. So get that internship and use it to get in. But this is the way to get in. These are the most, I guess I don't want to say the easiest, but they move the most. There's the most opportunities are these ones, the NIFS internships. Then they're called pathways internships. And I don't know if they're included in this one here. You'd have to Google it. Pathway internships are, if you get that internship, you have an internship every summer. And then at the end of your schooling, you have a job waiting for you. And those are the ones you really, really want, is the pathway and stuff. So those ones are there as well. They're just a little bit harder to get, but not impossible at all. And I just, you know, I can just really stress to show your experiences, and then be heartful, be a human. You know, they like to see that.
Okay, thank you for the information. That was really helpful, actually.
I hope it was.
Just one quick follow-up question.
Sure.
How do you recommend getting letters of recommendation? Because you need one for every application. If you're applying for 15, how do you get that many?
You know, in the application, I think it only asked for one. Maybe there was two. And that your one application is good for all 15 opportunities. So you fill out one application, and then you can, at the end, you can choose 15 different opportunities. My team will say something like plant growth for food production in microgravity at Kennedy Space Center, or space biology. But then there's, you know, opportunities in the legal office and all over. There is a need for all types of skills with NASA. I couldn't even begin to explain. So it's one application, and that one application is good for all 15 opportunities.
When I was applying, I think I had to apply for each application separately. I didn't see a place to select multiple jobs to apply for at the same time.
I do remember that each job had like an individual 250 word like statement that you would write, you know, like, why would you want to be part of the JPL team? And you would have to write, well, because I watched Science Channel and I saw the Curiosity rover and I think that would be cool. Or why did you want to be part of the plant team? Well, I saw the peppers grow in space, you know. So there is like a small box for those opportunities where I think they ask you, why do you want to be part of this team? And it does require a little statement and stuff.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Like your resume, your name, your education, all that stuff, it's just one application.
Yeah, I realized it's the same, but when I was applying, I had to fill it out separately for each internship.
Wow. I definitely try again. That doesn't seem right. And if you're like, and maybe it's changed since my time, I'll have to look. I have to double check. My email is, and I'm just going to write it in there. I can't help like I couldn't help anything. All I could do is like, if you are having to apply individually, like submit everything for one opportunity, that doesn't seem right. And if you are really having to type everything in for one opportunity, then shoot me an email and I'll send a message to the education office.
Okay, thank you.
Okey-doke. Well, we're coming up on 8, so I think this is a good time to stop and thank Jacob for his wonderful talk and his wonderful answers to all of our questions. That was super awesome, and I really appreciate you joining us. It was very, very exciting to have someone who is Chicano and someone who is Native come to talk to us. We haven't had an experience like this before, and we thank you so much for joining us today. And we can't wait to grow our chiles.
Yay, totally. Cool. And
Great.
I see a couple more questions if were there. I saw some raised hands, but if not, then I'm happy to answer some more questions if there are some. I'm completely honored to be here. And thank you for inviting me and reaching out to me the way you did, Larissa. That was really cool. It was an exciting time. I think I had just found out that they took the picture of the mission badge in space, and then you messaged not long after. So it was an exciting time, and you came at with positive energy. So thank you.
No problem. I'm glad I could put this together. So I'm gonna stop recording.